and shadows in the darkest maze. Footsteps echo in the empty hall. Mysteries waiting on our call. Bigfoot stomping through the pines. Aliens sending secret signs. EVPs in the dead of night. Ghosts dancing in the pale moonlight. Paranormal for what we bring it to you. Truth behind the veil, gotta pursue you.
We are back live.
Hey, look at that. It's already growing. Look at it. Already pop, pop, pop. People
Wow.
popping back on. Hello, everybody.
Yes, hello.
We are back to being live again. Thanks for jumping back on. And we're about to, this wind is kicking up, everybody. It's kicking up pretty bad. We've had to do some rescues on some other people's tents. Yeah, it's great.
So here in a minute, we're going to have Greg Ogle come on and talk with us.
Yes, it's going to be awesome. And give me a second, and I'm going to try to fix the tent.
I think it'll just mess up again.
Probably will. Well, maybe we'll just leave it and let it ride. What do you think? Man. Right.
It was almost
Years later,
yeah, wait, the ball.
I was just this.
That's usually what happens.
You know what this stuff needs to be made out of, Jason?
What?
Breathable material.
Yeah.
So air will go through it.
And you know, whenever you get it. So I said, well, there we go. So I just work.
Something's wrong. Big monster. Yeah.
So you have two tribal people 20 years apart describing seeing a creature that shocked them, which I find a cool information. Same sort of thing. They could see that, and that to give you encouragement, but they these things are remote environments. And more narrow than you live here, most things is very likely populated attention. Okay.
Really, no.
I heard yours. Hold on. Yours ain't on. Mine ain't on.
Yours is on. Mine's on. This correct? I don't look like it's right.
Yeah, I tried. No, it ain't right. Turn it this way. Huh?
Is that on the mic?
warriors that they captured because they want to take power from them. What was the question I asked her? Well, did it say so? Aren't you? And what did she say? No! It doesn't taste like chicken.
I
It doesn't taste like chicken. They call it chicken. It's all about. Are you eating? Yeah. Burger master. They call it the lost science of they call choice, or Nicholas, the long head. And then I'm going to do one with some smarters. About 2 years later,
It's yours again. Is it plug? It's got to be plugged in because it's showing red. Hello. Yes, I think maybe the shirts.
We're still fine. So I called the expedition. Looks like in the line. And then it started. You're in a dot, which is open shelter. And it started like this. Like what? That too. We have to fly the way.
Whoa! Look at that.
All right. Where is it at? I'm trying to read. All I need to is fish heads. They chew in rice.
We are having live winds.
Because the fish are good to taste it. Let me tell you, you did a very bad job. Very bad. So, going two. Big tomato, spin it over to the again. This time. That's the heart. So, the long pig, Mr. Day. Oh, I said it wasn't a big circle in 2 days. That's the way it's the whole poor old Dave. Did taste good though. Oh, look at those fish heads, let me tell you. That sunset, I like telling it's like that. It's a nice photograph. It's sick of the fact that I was still alive. Go to the next one. Let's go back. Go back to that side. So we're going now, ladies and gentlemen. There is a prize. It's a night time with friends.
Yeah, I was hoping
It's a prize.
Are you still ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're ready.
Whenever you're ready, I'm ready.
We're ready. Hey, David.
We
I was ready. So then
we volunteers.
David!
We are together as possible. So, yeah, if you like to be a volunteer,
He's ready.
please come up.
We ended up having to put our down.
Hey,
Wanted it out there, and it'd probably be out there.
Yeah. Like you almost took off over there. That's terrible.
Our way down.
Legs. Good stage. All right, so what we're going to do is this.
Oh, it's happening. Yeah.
Need something stronger than just this right here. Yeah. If it was the ones that come with it, and it's this Velcro here, I bet you would like this back one. It would come off like this. We these from Academy Sports. I think you go all the way down to here.
But I can show you what's going to happen. I'm going to take it in.
My dad's got
I got a new pair of pants.
Yeah.
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 What I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
What did he say?
That's amazing.
I'm close.
Yeah. The camera keep dying on you?
Yeah, you ready?
Here.
In that book, I've come to. I ain't too good at that.
There's a couple of personals. There's one for him and one for me that's personal in there. Personal. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I'm trying to. Oh,
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. We'll wait on
You over here talking about Bigfoots in Cherokee area.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
You guys.
Matter of fact, Sukaluba is in the book.
That name, my papa.
1996.
Yeah. Don't say that name. Really?
No, I had a margarita.
That's amazing.
Did you?
I didn't
I can
grow
tell.
up with any
No, that was
of the heritage.
I tell you what, though, last night I had a
Really?
yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was strong. And oh, maybe go.
Oh, well, that'll, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I would have got my grandfather. He died
That's strong.
by the
And
time I was born.
well, I know
So I didn't get to really take any time with it.
it may be a lot. Late on Monday.
Yeah.
So they.
That's good.
Reckon you gonna hold up?
I'm hoping.
Brother, we're gonna hold it down.
You'll hold fort.
We're gonna hold it. We're gonna hold fast.
Everything.
I'll stand here and hold it when you walk to the store.
It'll make good drama. If it flies away. It'll be good drama.
I'll be silent.
It'll be like the Bigfoot behind me. Yeah.
So we got Greg Ogle here with us. He was a speaker up here at the Bigfoot Festival in Townsend, Tennessee.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's a beautiful day here. A bit blustery, but it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yes.
A little bit blustery.
Yes.
It was last year it was a lot more rainy and muddy,
Mhm.
and we wanted a better year this year. We got it in one way, but then this happened, this wind happened, and it's like, man, what's going on here? You know?
Well, I brought the sunshine with me, and I didn't mean to bring the rain.
Yeah. Brother,
I mean the wind.
yeah,
I didn't mean to bring the wind, but it came.
they came with it.
It came. Yes, it did. Yeah. But I did bring the sunshine.
Yes, it's beautiful.
It is. It is. It started out a little bit muddy and moist this morning.
Yes.
You know,
Yes,
it turned out a bit beautiful.
it did. Yes, it did. Absolutely.
It's a little blustery.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Greg's a filmmaker and researcher,
Yeah.
paranormal and Bigfoot, right?
Well, yes, it's whatever we come across.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really go out to target any one thing. It's just whatever comes across.
Yeah.
When I first got into it, it was just Bigfoot, or at least that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. And at first I thought, you know, there was nothing to this Bigfooty thing, because on our very first outing, we found footprints, we found handprints, and with, you know, and I'm talking trackways, not just an individual print. And we actually found 2 trackways.
So did you cast a handprint
We
from
did.
Kentucky?
Not in Kentucky. It was in Alabama.
Alabama.
Yeah, my first film is called The Legend of the Downy Booger. And it's an old legend from the 1800s. And not many of people had heard about that legend. So our whole motive was to just revive that legend and not let it die.
Yeah.
And we went out to just investigate right where the legend was supposedly had taken place. And sure enough, I mean, we found some weird stuff. Like I said, on our first outing, we came across some footprints that
What in this hand was it?
let me look.
Because I bought that one from Cliff Barrickman.
No, it wasn't this one,
Oh,
but it looks very much like it.
Does it?
Yes.
Okay.
It looks very,
All right.
very much like it.
Yeah.
Yes. It is very, very similar, where you have your 4 fingers, and the thumb seems
It's
to be
weird. It's like,
it seems to be a little bit further down than
Yeah.
ours.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
yeah, I
instead
did
of
notice
it
that.
being kind of in like this, it seems to be kind of facing out like
Yeah,
that. Just-
yeah, they're a little different than ours.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we found. But they're still very big.
Yeah.
One of the things that we had found while we were there, we found these bat houses that were in the forest. The Forestry Service had put up, and they were in a field where we had seen these these big footprints. Okay. On that 4x4 post that the bat houses were on, we found 4 fingers on a face and the thumb on the same face of a 4x4 post. It had completely reached
Holy
around a 4x4 post.
That's amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. You know, and I do have footage of it, but unfortunately at the time, my camera presence was awful, absolutely horrible. And, you know, because I was an engineer, and I thought there was nothing to filming.
Right.
Right. Well, until I started going back and looking at myself, and I'm like, "Hey, nobody putting that on there. No, ain't
Not
gonna
happening.
happen." Yeah, but it was fabulous evidence, though.
Yeah.
So you know, I did go back and start, you know, looking at YouTube and stuff, how to be an actor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, just being able to talk
Yes.
while you're on camera.
Yes.
Okay, so you know, we continued our adventures and went over to Georgia, and we went to a place that is near Carrollton, Georgia. Okay, and this was years into it, and I started to get a bit weary of the filmmaking process because it seemed to have never ended. It was
Yep.
never ended.
Just let it slide down, honey. Just let it slide down.
So yeah, this blustering.
Look at that.
Take off here in a minute. But I'd gotten real weary, and one of the things that we had started to see while we were out was orbs. Now, and I'm not talking about an orb that is here and gone, like a, you know, not fast like a lightning. I'm talking about these sustained balls of light
Yeah.
that move with intelligence. So they're either intelligently controlled or they're intelligent themselves. I don't know which, but it's one of the two. they respond to stimuli, and they seem to understand the English language somehow. Or if it's not our language, it's the frequency that our mind makes when we're saying something. Yes. So that's probably more likely the case. So when we see these orbs, they actually come to us. They're like attracted to us, and they'll settle in about 30 or 40 yards away, and they'll just stay there. Now, early on, I tried to walk up to them, and they did one of two things. They would either disappear, or they would back up and keep the same relative distance between me and that orb.
Right.
So that was very common. And there was times where they would stay out all night with us, hours and hours with us.
That's
So,
interesting.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because this luminous ball of light just seems to, it would move around some,
Yeah.
but it's like they was just, checking us out. And I didn't know what they were. However, I did start noticing that whenever we had a lot of this orb activity, we had Bigfoot activity. Stuff started being thrown at us. You would hear the vocalizations. Eventually, you would actually hear something walking around,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it.
Here it is.
And then you don't see anything.
Really?
Yes.
See, what's fascinating about that is that you have tons of Native American tales that talk about these creatures and seeing orbs with these creatures, with Bigfoot.
Yes.
And a lot of people are like, well, that's too far woo for me. I don't want nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got indigenous tales that are thousands of years old, at least hundreds of years old, that talk about these things. And it's like, why are we dismissing it? Why are we dismissing it?
Well, fortunately for me,
Yeah.
when we were over in Carrollton, Georgia, and we rented a really high-end camera that was passive. It didn't project any light. It was passive. Got a very high ISO.
Yeah.
We were filming this orb. Okay. Now, by accident, we caught this creature crawling between us and the orb.
Wow.
Really?
Yes. When you blow it up, you can see its arms, its legs, and it's like an oh crap moment. It's like, oh crap, I'm on camera. Seriously.
You can see me.
Yes.
Uh,
I mean, it was quite by accident, right?
yeah.
And the camera tries to focus in on this thing. It's pitch black, but it still sees it. Right?
Yeah.
And it's trying to focus in on it, and then behind it, the orb starts going nuts. Just gets brighter, dimmer, brighter. It just, acting berserk. And the camera gives up on the object in front of it, and starts focusing in on the
The
orb.
orb.
And then it goes up. The crawler goes off screen.
So do you think that it's for that purpose? It's like, hey, look at this thing, but don't pay attention to what's going on here.
It was a distraction.
Yes.
that much of a certain.
It's like, look over here. So
When you were younger, did you played video games where you have you're the main character and then you have a sidekick that
Mhm.
kind of follows you around and does everything? Maybe that's what that thing is.
Maybe that's what they are.
Yeah.
I started to come up with a theory, supposition,
Yeah.
so to speak. When we fast forward to the Land Between the Lakes, the film Land
Yes.
Between the Lakes. The first night I was there, we were again orb watching, and I saw a light that I hadn't seen before. And I didn't see the source of it. So I kind of maneuvered myself around to where I could see the source of this light. I saw a portal when I was there.
what?
Absolutely saw a portal. It was rectangular in nature, very two-dimensional. From the side, you couldn't see it, but from the front, you could see it. And it was daylight wherever it was. I mean, it was as sunny as it is out here
Wow.
now. That's exactly what it looked like.
So you got to literally see into
And-
another place, whatever that is.
Absolutely did.
Oh, that's
absolutely did.
amazing.
I had a paradigm. I mean, it was more shocking than anything else I had ever seen before, because I was literally looking to somewhere else, and it was very lush, very jungle-like,
Yeah.
wherever it was.
Huh.
and there was somebody that had shined a flashlight onto a tombstone, and it flashed back behind us, and then it seemed to shut it down, just like a light when we shine flashlights on the orbs. They go away, they shut down.
Mm.
This thing did the same thing, and I was like, "Dadgummit," because somebody else didn't listen to it.
Yes.
And I was like, "Dadgummit, I'm not going to," I was in the groove, right?
Yes.
I was looking at something. But a few minutes later, an orb came up right from exactly right up from where that portal was. Okay, now in the Land Between the Lakes, there's a portion in there where we had investigated with this ASOG group, and they have a project called the Meta Project, and it's called the Skinwalker Ranch of the South, and there's a lot of the same phenomena goes on there. So in our interview with them, there's two of their crewmates had walked into what they described as a portal. It's on clear, and you can see them walk into this portal, and they disappear from clear.
What?
Yes, they absolutely disappear. And when I talked with one of them, he said when they were inside it, everything was dark, just black. There was no stars. Couldn't see any of the vegetation around you. He said it was just black, and they made their way out of it eventually. But unfortunately for them, they've both passed away since then, and that's not been too long ago. They both contracted cancer.
Oh no.
One was a really, really aggressive cancer, and the other one was not quite as aggressive, but it still got it. So this brings me to starting to put some pieces of the puzzle together, because I was, as a traffic engineer, I would investigate crashes, trying to put a piece of the puzzle together to form a big picture of what was going on. So I started putting all these pieces of the puzzle together over the years. Go back to the Downy Booger, and where this creature and there's an orb behind it, kind of going crazy. And we've experienced where, you've got distractions going on, that divert your attention from here to there, And I look at our friends that stepped into a portal accidentally or to the side of it, whatever. They're no longer with us. So apparently the portals are dangerous to human flesh. And now I've also got other people that said that they have footage of an orb changing into a Bigfoot. Yes. Manifesting in, they said that they've got it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But
That's
however,
amazing.
That is amazing. However, when I know that orb came out from that portal, I'm like, okay, well, maybe these things aren't from Earth. Maybe they're not from here.
You think they're taking form when they come here?
Well, I think when they come through this portal, they can only do so safely in an energy form.
Yep. That makes sense.
And
Makes sense.
when they get, and then when they come back over here, they can transform themselves back into a physical form.
Right.
Also, I think it would account for some of these cloaking things, these cloaking
Yes.
because if you're going from a physical form into an energy form, you naturally disappear.
Yes. Yes.
So it would look like a cloak.
Yep. Because you'd change light spectrum. So
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think that could, I'm not saying that's what it is,
Right.
but I'm saying, I've been out a lot and looking at some of these and putting these pieces of the puzzle together. I'm starting to think that's what's going on. And that
makes sense to me.
Yeah. And that's what this cloaking technology,
Yeah.
cloaking is.
Yes.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And also accounts for like, hey, you don't find the bones of Bigfoot anywhere. Well, there's lots of reasons for that.
They're not here.
If they're not here, you won't find them.
That's right. That's right.
I do think that, you'd be able to kill them if you shot them enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the one that I saw, the LBL.
Yeah.
Unless you had a really big gun.
Really?
Really big.
Was he big?
The one I saw at the LBL was probably between 9 and 10 feet tall. Of course, we were filming there when we got there. I was still taking out all of the film gear, and you hear the, it was growling, and You know, fortunately, I did get the cameras up and going, and I caught its eyes on camera. This encounter lasts 25, 30 minutes. It's a really long encounter. It's all on film.
Holy smoke.
Eventually, we do push the thing out in the woods, and then its eye starts glowing.
Hmm.
Yeah. A lot of people think that, hey, that's almost impossible until I saw a paper on some research that was done not too long ago where humans have that ability. All humans. There's some sort of small little spark that people can do inside their eyes that actually glow, that will glow.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's
Humans
amazing.
can do that.
So if we can,
Maybe they have really mastered that ability.
yes.
And what does it mean? I don't know. It was their eyes was kind of like an orangey, amber red sort of looking color.
Yeah.
And I just found it fascinating that his eyes was glowing.
But you have so many people who talk about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their eyes glowed
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, it's not eye shine. Their eyes were actually glowing.
Glowing.
Like there's a light on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Their eyes glow. It's not eye shine.
Yeah.
Even though we call it eye shine, for lack of a better term, while we were there. And,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in the moment,
Yeah.
your brain's only working on like 2%.
Yeah.
Adrenaline and fear has kicked in. And, you're like, oh, what in the world is going on here?
What is this?
But in my opinion, that filming sequence is one of the most important in the ever caught because you can hear these things. You can hear them growling. Every time we took a step forward toward them, they would growl.
You think it was like a territorial, like get out, like don't be, won't you
It was definitely in response.
Yeah.
Absolutely in response to our movement.
Right.
Now, the batteries in our cameras should have lasted all night. But if anybody has any kind of experience in the paranormal,
Yes.
whenever you investigate, you get lots of battery drain.
Yes.
We've had that happen.
Yeah,
Many
I mean
times.
that's very, very, very common.
Yeah.
And we're used to dealing.
Yeah.
So, but we
Bring extra batteries.
well, yeah, and I've kind of devised a little way where I'll hook up a camera to these big, large batteries, an extra battery bank, and it's harder to drain them.
Yeah.
And that's what one of us was doing, but it didn't matter. Ultimately, both cameras died for lack of battery power. About 20 to 30 minutes. Wow, there you go. Yeah, that could have been Casper. Yes. Here we go. Yeah, it's okay. It's my luck. But all of our night vision cameras had drained out of power. We weren't recording anymore. And one of the people that was with us, Martin Groves, he had fallen a little bit ill, and people were tending to him. And I was like, I wonder if I can go in front of the truck and find some of the footprints, because there should have been some footprints. So I go and look, and unfortunately, it was lots of gravel there. It was kind of a gravelly road, and I didn't see any footprints. So I thought again, self, what else can I do to see if these things are around? So I go, what if I growl back at them? What's going to happen?
Oh,
Seriously, I growl back. And immediately in response was boom, boom, boom. It stomped in response. Yeah, I mean, you could feel that vibration when it stomped. And about that time, Brent was bebopping up around the truck, and he was like, "Hey, did you hear that? It responded to you." And I was like, "Yeah, I heard that. I'm gonna do it again." so I go again, real loud. And they immediately again, right afterwards, boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
Did it again.
that's amazing.
Yeah. But this time it was right at the edge of the road. And we were like, Brent looked up at me like, stop doing that shit.
It's coming closer.
Yeah, it was. It was literally, I don't know what I said to it, but apparently it took it as a challenge. So I was like, no, okay, I'll stop, you know. But that was an amazing event right there. The Land Between the Lakes is
We
absolutely
want to go there.
fabulous place. Yeah, it is a fabulous place. It's beautiful during the daytime, and just watch out at night. You know, some weird things happen there.
You ever had any like dogman experiences or anything?
Well,
or?
up there, I think we did have one dog man encounter. I went back up there a couple of weeks later,
Mhm.
and we were again orb watching,
Mhm.
and we kept hearing the something like run around us. You know, this it was just like running all around us, and the footprints didn't seem quite as heavy as what you would expect with a Bigfoot,
Mhm.
and eventually we heard something over in a cemetery next to us. It's like it was just circling us. And one of the guys that was there shined a light over to where they thought they heard it, and I saw something at the very edge of the light, and it was yeah, it was upright ish,
Mhm.
you know, and then it kind of took off immediately, and I didn't get a real good look at it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was a Bigfoot or a dog man, but it didn't act like the Bigfoot that we had seen. The
Right.
Bigfoot we had seen earlier wouldn't give a crap. It really wouldn't. Um, and we was able to see I shine, not I glow, but I shine off about 7 to 8 foot up, and it wouldn't move. You know, we tried to throw rocks and stuff at it. You know,
Really?
yeah, oh, yeah,
It was like,
yeah. It didn't care. It was just like looking over, but his eyes didn't seem quite as far apart as the Bigfoots that we had seen earlier. So did we run into some? Did we run into some dogmen there? Maybe, maybe, maybe,
maybe
Maybe.
maybe.
we definitely want to go this year and do like a week-long investigation.
Oh, you will need a week because there's just so much there.
Yeah.
It seemed like every road there has a cemetery on it, and you can go off to some of the edges of some of these cemeteries. And for what I don't know why this seems like you get a lot of dogman reports around cemeteries. I don't know why.
That's weird, isn't it?
It is weird, and it was right at the cemetery where we had that last encounter that I was just telling you. And there's several people that were there that we talked to. I didn't really formally interview them, but I talked to them, and they said they were run out even in the daytime. They were run out from some of these cemeteries. They would try to go in and just kind of clean up and keep them clean and all that. So they were just literally run out from them by the intensity of just raw, you know, the growls and all the stuff going on.
That's amazing.
It's extremely interesting,
Yeah.
and you know, I do know that there's orbs there. I did see a portal there, and I did see a Bigfoot there. So, and one of my good friends, Martin Groves, he says he saw a dog man there. He says he shot a dog man
Really?
there.
So when you go, do you usually take a camper or what do you?
Well, you can.
Is there a spot for
You
campers?
can take, yeah. There's spots for camping. They also have cabins there, and you can stay in it's more of a rustic cabin. There's not a lot of amenities in them, but you know, you don't have to take a camper. You don't have to take a tent. And these cabins are real close to the bathhouses. And off camera, one of the forestry people, one of the park rangers, he did tell me that there was a report of dogman inside the campground that we were at.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They said that there was on 2 occasions kids had been chased by what they had described was a werewolf.
Dogman. That's why
Yeah.
someone was asking us about something like that earlier, and I was like, I don't know. It depends because you've almost get 2 accounts of dogman or
Mhm.
whatever. Because one of them is almost like a Bigfoot, but just with a dog, a canid head on it.
Right. Yeah.
And then you get the one that actually has the legs are more like a dog and it stands upright, you know?
Right.
So there's almost 2 different kinds of these things, or people are on the first one mistaken Bigfoot for a dog
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think definitely either one could be possibilities that people misidentify a Bigfoot as a dog man or vice versa.
Yeah.
Um, However, the latter of what you described, where it's more canine like,
Yeah.
to me that's the more terrifying
Yes.
possibility.
Yes.
Because it's more animalistic and wouldn't have the reasoning power of say like a Bigfoot.
Yes.
Bigfoots are extremely intelligent and they've got reasoning power. And I think with all that intelligence comes some common sense.
Yes.
They probably know not to murder 4 or 5 people, that's there and have one escape. And
Yes.
then they know that,
The
hey,
gig's up.
the gig's up.
The gig's up. Yeah.
But however, a dog man, if it's, very canine, more canine than anything,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and there is some things that's happened there that's been attributed to
Yeah,
dogman deaths, right?
Yeah.
And missing people too.
absolutely. And we're going to be investigating there again. Before long, I'll do a return to the LBL.
Yeah.
And we're going to investigate some of those possibilities, look into some of those stories.
Yeah.
We didn't really hit on them too much during the first film.
Right.
I wanted to focus more on the history of the place and some of the lesser known activities that had been there, like Casey Jones Distillery.
Right.
He had made his name there in the LBL, and Al Capone came in there. And then an area real close to there is where there was a famous alien landing in the I think 1954.
Really?
Yeah, where these aliens had apparently had landed and it was coming into a forest and put a house under siege, where they had these people had claimed to have used shotguns and shoot the aliens.
Oh,
Yeah, I know what
I
you're talking
remember
about.
that story.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's not far from
So
there.
that was in the LBL where that.
Well, I don't know if
or
it was in the LBL.
in that area?
Yeah, it was real close to there.
Kentucky
It was real
side.
close. Yeah, real close to there. So, there's a plethora
Yeah.
of activity that goes on there. So, I want to dig more into it a little bit.
Yes.
I'm really interested in the LBL.
So is that where you caught you got the big footprints?
No, we got the big footprints in Alabama.
Alabama.
The big footprints in Alabama is they're 16 inches long, 7 inches wide, roughly. I did a size comparison or depth comparison, and I come out with an estimate of it weighed maybe 750 pounds. I've compared the depth of its prints to the depth of my prints.
Right.
What was its gait? It was like 8 or 9 feet.
When its gate around the pond was 5.5 feet,
5.5.
and then when we were in the field, its gate had changed to between 8 and 9 feet.
So you think at that time it was running?
Exactly, because where those prints was coming from, and I'll kind of set the stage a little bit for this. We had found this structure. It looked like a giant bird's nest, but it laying on its side. You could walk into this structure, and it was right next to a game trail. I mean, you could reach out and grab a deer if it came by. But if you was on one side, coming out toward the field from the woods, you didn't see anything that was inside that. I'll call it a bird's nest. Yeah, you didn't see anything that was inside it. And that's where we saw the footprints come out of that trail that was between 8 and 9 feet. So what we think happened was it was a hunting blind that it had constructed, and it stayed in there, and it didn't reach out and grab it, and then the deer took off, and it was moving
After it.
Yeah, it was going after it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I think was what happened there. The weird thing about it though is that it got to the middle of the field, or almost probably 3/4 of the way across the field. The print stopped.
See, that's
They just stopped.
that's where I have a problem with saying the woo side just jumps out. It's like, okay, you see this all the way up to here and then nothing.
And then nothing. Like, where does it go? I mean,
Yeah,
there wasn't a tree for it to jump up into. I don't see it walking backwards.
Yeah.
You know,
Especially after running, because how
Yeah.
could you hit your footsteps perfectly at that 8-foot gate?
Exactly.
You know, there's no way. No way.
yeah, I just don't see that as being
Yeah.
a possibility for it. Now, I will say this at the time. At the time I was doing this, I fully expected for this just to be nothing but flesh and blood animal.
Yes.
Nothing but.
Yes.
And over time, I have changed my mind because I do go to whatever evidence that I find. And it has actually changed my opinion over the years that I think these things have abilities that we really don't. I think surely, when you see them, yeah, they are flesh and blood.
Yes.
They're physical when they're here. They leave prints.
Right.
I've got
DNA.
friends. Yeah,
I mean,
they have all that.
yes.
Except I think they have the ability to change themselves into an energy form and then open up portals, or they know when a portal is about to open up. I don't know if I don't really think they can have the ability to open up a portal themselves.
Right.
However, I think they can sense them or see them or something like that,
Yes.
and they know how to traverse through.
You know, David's talked about it. We've talked about it a lot that the Native Americans always said that they lived in both worlds.
They live in, but like a
Yes.
spirit,
Yeah,
Yes.
spirit being.
spirit form and
Well, I mean, that really lines up with the evidence that I have found over the years.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. A lot of Native American from one side of the country to the other, they talk about it as a physical being, but also as a spiritual being.
Right.
And they literally say it lives in both worlds. It's
Uh-huh.
not just of this world; it's of the other world too.
So, yeah, exactly. And I think with the vocabulary that they had at the time, I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yes, I do. That's what when I think of both worlds, that's what I think of interdimensional or something
I
else.
mean, if you put yourself like living, 10,000 years ago,
Yep.
And you saw something just just appear out of
Yeah.
thin air,
Yeah.
you would think it's a spirit.
Yes.
I would.
I
mean,
would.
even
I'd be
not
like-
long ago, people would.
I mean, if I saw it today, I'd be like, "Ooh."
Oh yeah. So but until recently, I mean, like NASA has proven that every 7 or 9 minutes or something like that, a portal opens up around Earth.
Yep. Yep.
Every 7 to 9 minutes.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Well,
like I say, and also one of the things that that kind of comes to mind is that we weren't able to catch anything like on night vision. I think they could see into the infrared range.
Yeah.
so that makes sense.
And if they can see into a broader spectrum, maybe they can see these portals when they open up, when they're like an
Yes.
invisible portal.
Yes.
Maybe they can see them when they open up.
Yeah. And I think that answers another question too about, what David Pilatus talks about a lot on the missing 411.
Yeah.
What if these people that were right next to them or just right behind them or just right around the corner accidentally stepped into that and they're gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
And
I think either one or two things can happen. They're gone. They appear somewhere way else.
Yep.
Or two, they'll die inexplicably.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just like you said.
Just like our two friends did.
Yep.
Absolutely. So I think there's just much more to the world than we have been recently taught.
Yes.
I think a lot of our ancestors knew about all this stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I think
And we call it we try to call it folklore today,
exactly.
But
Uh,
it wasn't then. It
exactly.
was true.
It was truth. I mean, they knew what. I mean, it's like all these cave drawings and stuff.
Yes.
They didn't have Spielberg back then.
No.
They're not going to waste their time with fake stuff that they just dreamed out of their head. They drew what they saw.
Yes.
They drew what they saw. So they had it right. A long time ago, they had it right. They might not have had the vocabulary or the experience with science like we do today, but I think they had it right. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the way I believe. I do believe that they drew what they saw. We had who was that on last week?
Scott Violet.
Scott Violet.
Mm-hmm.
And, in his day job before, that's what he did. He worked with the Native Americans on stuff
Mhm.
like that. And he got to see these pictographs firsthand.
Mm.
And that's what got him into Bigfooting, was the fact that he was like, so what is this? And they said, oh, it's Bigfoot. And he's like, so y'all actually believe in that? And they're like, yeah. And he said he felt like he was stupid, like they're like, yeah, of course Bigfoot exists,
Yeah, well, what's with them? It's just common knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And to some of these scientists,
Yeah.
do that in little air quotes.
Right.
Bigfoot can't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. No, you'd find their bodies and this and that. And
Yeah.
we're the biggest pinnacle of everything. Aliens don't exist. Yes, the hell they do.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to flat Earth, and everything revolves around us. Then, I mean, if we're,
I mean, come on.
yeah, that's the way I feel. Yeah, it's crazy.
This is a huge universe.
Yes,
It's a huge universe.
and we haven't even tapped into what any of it.
We have not. We
None.
have not. Now we know our government has alien tech and just all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
They're like, hey, you should have told us about that
Yeah.
100 years ago.
Yeah.
And they know about all that stuff, but
Yeah.
anyway. But yeah, I've experienced a whole lot of weird things and making some good films. Or at least I think they're good. If people haven't had them, the first one's called The Legend of the Downy Booger. Second one's called Cryptic Expeditions: The Land Between the Lakes.
And where can you find them?
You can go to relicfilmsmedia.com, relicfilmsmedia.com, and now you can find both of them there. The first one's on Tubi and Amazon, and you can buy it physically off Walmart.com and all that. The second one is currently only on the Patreon page at relicfilmsmedia.com, but will soon be in DVD form and on Amazon and all the other platforms.
Awesome. That's great. We're gonna have to watch that, Jason.
I've watched him on Tubi. Yeah,
Not
good.
bad.
It's real good.
Yeah, the first one, our first one, I was a little bit apprehensive about because we had no idea what we were doing. We did not. We had no idea what we were doing.
What I do, I put my TV on Tubi because they have all the good shows like that, and
Yeah,
it'll
absolutely.
play them one right after the other.
And
he's come up 3 or 4 times. I've been watching it.
well, everything in them that you see is real. You might have a different interpretation of what you're seeing, but
Right.
it's all real.
Right.
I don't have the budget to stage anything.
No CG.
The budget to stage that. No.
He don't get possessed every time he goes out.
No, I don't get possessed.
Yeah.
No.
That's a plus.
He don't get what they call that. Forget what they call it. That one guy said he got
blasted
or something.
Yeah, you get blasted. Zap. That's it.
Zapped.
That's the magic word. Zap.
Yeah. No.
Never get zapped.
Well, I think that
It
one
could
time I think the one time in the Land Between the Lakes, something happened to us because when it growled, you could feel it.
Yeah.
Oh, so do you think the infrasound is something that is
Not necessarily infrasound because we looked at it and we analyzed. We couldn't find anything up under 98 hertz.
right?
Being in my profession, I've been privy to some technology that they were trying to push onto the traffic engineering world, and I was at a conference where FLIR came to. Okay, and they were trying to sell us on this technology as a government entity. They were trying to sell the government on this technology where they could compress sound into a small tunnel, and only one person could hear it. And they said it could be used anywhere from just sending a message to somebody all the way up to liquefying somebody. They can liquefy you with it.
What?
Yes.
No, that's insane.
Yes. Sat told me that. Of course, we didn't. The The use for it was to be like,
don't trust our government that much.
Stupid.
And is that an audio frequency?
Yes.
I
Audio.
believe they would be able to do that because we're all just frequencies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we are. Yeah.
Exactly. We all are. Yeah. I mean, they could literally, he said they could literally liquefy you. They've
Yeah.
done that.
Wow.
He wouldn't have known they could do that
Unless they've done it.
unless they've done that.
Yes.
Right.
Mm.
Okay.
Wow.
So I think that maybe they have the ability to direct sound more than other creatures.
Mhm.
They might, and this is just a guess. But if we're using technology to do some of the things that other things do naturally,
Yep.
maybe these things can do this naturally. And who's to say that that's not where they got the idea from?
Yes. Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And when you direct these sound waves, and it's not necessarily infrasound, it's just a sound pressure level. That
So almost the same thing as say a stick of dynamite going off, that pressure wave.
exactly. It's like a pressure wave.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you can condense it, and you'll be able to feel all that.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll get disoriented. You'll get sick. A lot of the same symptoms that infrasound would make.
Yes.
So I would not be opposed to the infrasound theory if I could prove it. And I had very, very good evidence there of them doing the growls, and we were like, we had the flight or flight syndrome come over
Yes.
us, but we didn't find infrasound.
Wow. So y'all were filming, so you could actually, like
Exactly.
you said, you could check, see if the
Yes,
frequency.
we did go back and analyze it. We didn't find anything under 98 hertz. So I'm not saying that they absolutely can't do it.
Right.
I'm just saying so far I've not found any evidence to support that theory. I have found evidence to support other things,
Yes.
which would act very similar to infrasound.
Right. Well, I mean, what you was describing acts very similar to
It
infrasound.
actually very similar, if
Yeah.
not identical.
And like you said, though, it could be focused in on one person.
Exactly. Yeah.
And-
And I was standing right beside Brent, and he had a much different reaction than I did. And when we start talking about being zapped,
Mhm.
you hear people talk about being zapped. They might be in a group of people, and one person gets zapped. How does that happen? Without if their sound was omnidirectional,
Yes.
you would think everybody would have gotten zapped.
Yes.
But if it's just one, then maybe they have the ability to compress these frequency waves and poof to very much target something.
Yeah. So whoever they feel at the time needed to be targeted.
Exactly.
Boom.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting.
Yeah, in the making of the Land Between the Lakes, my buddy saw so much weird stuff going on. He saw a shadow person for the first time, freaked him out. He got zapped at the LVL, freaked him out. He's like, "Oh my God, we gotta get here."
Jason,
He's just like me.
Yeah, we gotta. I'm like, come on. We this is why we're here. And it freaked him out during the making of all that. He had to take some time off. He did. He took it. I found a whole nother film. And he's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll come back or whatever.
We were in.
He found out that it was real.
Yeah, we were in a graveyard doing an investigation. Like you was talking about earlier, all of the equipment went dead. My flashlight went. This was within 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, that happens a
minutes.
lot.
Yeah.
I told
camera goes dead.
David's still out there in pitch dark.
Yep.
And I'm saying, no, I'm going to the truck. I'm getting out of here.
No, it was when you saw the red, glowing eyes or something come out of that. It was in the right in the tree line.
Mm-hmm.
They just all of a sudden they just appeared, just two.
I've got it on camera.
Eyes. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, that wasn't here just a minute ago. That wasn't here just a minute ago. Then the camera dies,
Uh-huh.
And he's like, I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm out of here. And I'm like, Jason, we just got here, man. No, I'm like already
I've been here
halfway.
too long.
I'm getting a little better. I just scream real loud now, but I don't run away.
Yeah, that last
What's the frequency pitch on the screen?
it's pretty high. We've got we've got a video that we did of us doing an investigation at an old farmhouse, and on FLIR he catches behind Eddie from Legends and Lore, catches an apparition come up behind him, look, and turn around and walk away on FLIR.
Wow.
And
I go,
oh, I'm sitting over there like, what's going on?
and then after I'm still shaking like this because
But he didn't run. I was very proud of him. He did not run.
You know, I didn't believe in ghosts until I actually saw one. It was out orb hunting or orb watching, you know, and we're just looking at this cabin, and there's a big field next to the cabin, and this Indian on a horse appears right in front of us.
That's amazing.
It materialized, and but you could see everything. You could see it wearing the buckskin pants. It didn't have a shirt on. It had like something in its head. You know, I don't know if it was a feather or so. There was something, you know, in the head. And then it rode across the field, and it got to the wood line and disappeared. I looked over at Janice and I said, "Hey, Janice, did you see?" And then she finished the sentence, "And then on a horse?" Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I didn't believe in ghosts until I saw it.
Yes.
I saw it.
Yes.
They're real. I don't know what it is, but I saw it. However, I'll leave this, one last little nugget. Whenever we've been out investigating a lot of places, we've had a lot of activity. One thing that we have noticed in the ground is an exceptional amount of quartz. Quartz has the ability to store energy.
Store energy.
Yeah, like if you
You
have
can
one of
rub
these
them
quartz
together and they'll
and
create light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, you like to get a quartz watch, you put pressure on to a little sliver of quartz, and it creates the electricity to be able to power the watch.
Well, they have, what's crazy is like their vibration of it is so high.
Exactly. So what I'm wondering is in these areas where there's so much quartz in the ground, is it giving off the energy that it takes for some of these things to manifest?
I say,
Like when your battery dies,
ancient aliens theorists say yes.
Yes.
could this be the energy?
I love
Yes.
it. Yeah, crazy haired guy. That's like George
Tsoukalos.
Yeah, George Tsoukalos.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I think that you're right on that. I really do, because that's one of a very abundant natural mineral that's in the earth.
Exactly.
Very abundant.
Yeah. And I think that when it's in the ground, the compression of the everything on top of that quartz creates some sort of energy field.
Yep.
That's interesting.
It's I can't put my finger on the exact science behind it, but I can see that there's a direct correlation between lots of quartz and
lots of activity.
And lots of activity. Absolutely.
And you think that correlates also with the Bigfoot and Dogman stuff also? I mean, not just...
Well, think about it. I mean, if this if the quartz is creating an energy field, maybe that's powering some of these
portals.
And then if they can see the portals to come through, it may be an indirect relationship.
Yes.
But it's a relationship.
Yes.
That the quartz creates portals, and they can see the portals, they come through the portals, and then they're here, and then subsequently they're here where all the quartz is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's an indirect relationship, but it's a relationship nonetheless.
And that goes back to the missing 411 stuff that was just talking about too, because the boulder fields and stuff like that is also one of the main things that is a correlation.
Absolutely. So, the pyramids were more than just tombs.
Yes.
I don't think anybody's ever been
They weren't.
buried in them.
No,
No one
there's, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Well, they had the
you
Valley of the
get, like-
Kings that was down the way from it. So that's where all the kings were buried, is
exactly.
in the Valley of the Kings.
Have you seen the new news where they found under?
Oh, absolutely have, and that is fascinating.
It is.
Yeah, you're not doing that with a stone tool.
No.
No.
You know, and if OSHA would have came around when they were doing that,
Are you tied off? That's
Yeah.
more than 3 foot.
where's your shoring wall?
That's it.
You know, no, no,
Uh,
you're not doing that with stone tools. I'm
There's-
sorry.
absolutely no way.
No, and the spirals going around is perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect.
Yes.
You know, you're not doing that with stone tools.
No.
Come on. Come
No.
on.
It's pretty amazing, some of the things that are starting to come out, but
Exactly.
it's also just equally amazing at how mainstream scientists hurry up and come out and start saying, "Oh no, that's fringe science. That's
Exactly.
not real. You
Mhm.
can't look at this." But we do this in other things, but
Mhm.
not for this purpose.
Yeah, you know, I look at these mainstream scientists as, well, I got a name for them, but okay, go back to Thomas Edison. Nikola Tesla went to work for Thomas
Yes.
Edison for quite a while,
Yep.
and Tesla fixed his generators, you know, fixed the problem with them. And, you know, Edison's like, I'm not going to pay you. He just didn't pay like he was supposed to. And then Tesla was looking around for some more funding for one of the projects he was doing. So he went to Westinghouse, and he got some funding from Westinghouse.
Yep.
And what he was doing was building these towers
Yeah.
to be able to distribute free energy.
Yeah, the
from
Gordon Cliff
atmosphere.
Tower was one of those.
Yes. And when Westinghouse found out about that it was free, yeah, exactly.
You can't
That's
put a
what
meter
happened.
on it.
Can't put a meter on it. He didn't want it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So those two people, Edison and Westinghouse, I think set mankind back, you know, several hundred years.
Absolutely. If we would have kept on the track that he was setting for us, when he was alive, we would be in a different world than where we
absolutely.
are. We'd probably be
100%.
150 years ahead of where we are
Where
today.
we are right now.
Absolutely.
We absolutely would.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Those flying cars everybody wanted, we'd have them.
Oh, that would have been a long time ago.
Yep.
Now we'd be like transporting ourselves from
Yeah.
one place to the
That's
next.
it.
You know?
We would be able to open portals.
Well, let me tell you something else that I've learned. Okay. In all my travels, I've been able to talk with people who were in intelligence. I'm not going to say which branch or
Right.
anything. Well, they never would tell me what they were doing. They took that oath seriously.
Mhm.
However, intelligence people, they talk to each other. One of them told me that, yes, our government's been able to open portals for quite a while. And what happens is they'll open up a portal. They'll they'll open up a portal and then bring a creature through from somewhere else. Study it for a while. If it's not interesting, they'll just do away with it. If it is interesting, drop it off in some of these other forests. Now, not long ago, our government admitted that they have the ability to weaponize time and space.
I saw that article. Yes.
They admitted that.
Yes.
Time and space. I also learned before that ever happened that our government's been running missions back in the past.
Hmm.
And
So I
have
think
you heard
that
of this
gives for
Mandela
effect? Yeah.
I think that's
Yes.
what's happening.
Yeah.
They make these little tiny changes and
Branches off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
That makes
I think
sense.
That's what's been happening.
That makes sense.
At first, I'd completely dismissed it because I thought it was just way too out there. And then I found out, hey.
Yeah.
But-
I was doing an experiment a few months ago. You was there when I was doing it with AI.
Oh yeah.
So I asked AI, I said, do you think that the Mandela effect could be caused by people traveling from the future to the past, causing these breaks and causing that to happen? And AI is like, well, it said something to the effect of the technology has not been created to be able to do that. And I said, so I go back and I was like, okay. I said, but Einstein's general theory of relativity says that you can do that. And then it came back and it says, oh, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, you are right. Time travel would be possible, but we don't have the ability to do it. And I said, well, I didn't say us now. I said, what about 100 years, 200 years in the future? We'll just say, we'll just say that. What if we got the ability in 200 years from now? Could that be causing this to happen? And it finally had to say, yeah, it was.
What are you doing? Taking your picture?
We need, hold on, wait, do that again. No. I got to spin this camera around.
Some friends, they've got another podcast and another TV network and stuff like that. And
That's amazing.
he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy.
Well, we appreciate you.
We
coming over
appreciate
here
you very
and
much.
talking with us.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
you
your
having
time.
me. Appreciate you
It's
having me.
our
It's been a
honor.
fun time.
Has anybody said anything? I know a bunch of people are
A
on.
bunch of people are watching, but no, really just hi and stuff.
Okay. There's no questions or anything. Thanks
Oh,
for having me.
thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Oh man.
That was
Appreciate it.
amazing. That was
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Hey. Yay. Come with us. Come out and eat with us.
Yes.
All right.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. We're coming to the end of the show. It's getting close to time to go home. We're an hour away. And but I hope everybody enjoyed all the people and all the stories that you got to hear tonight or today. If you didn't get to hear all these stories, definitely go back because this is what the third time we've started.
Yeah, this is the third 2-hour show, almost 2
Yep.
hours.
So go back and watch the other ones because there was some really awesome stories that we
We
got.
had some great interviews,
Yes.
especially with Greg here.
Greg
Look-
here, and now Greg that we just had, he was an actual speaker here today. So it was amazing that he took time out of his schedule to come over here and do this with us.
And we did get the Turtle Man came
Turtle
in.
Man came for a minute.
Yeah, I got to see the Turtle Man.
Live action.
Well, we're going to get out of here. We're going to start packing up here in a minute.
All right, everybody, have a good night.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yes,
We'll
we
have
will
a-
see you Thursday.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of, if we can get all this stuff set back up,
Yeah, we'll get it set back up.
yeah, we'll have a lot of shorts for you to watch too. So
Yes. We'll have a show Thursday. Saturday, we've got a guest
yes, we do.
who's coming on.
Hey, Joanne,
Hey, Joanne.
just caught the end of it. We're wrapping up here.
Thank you for
But you can go
jumping in.
back. Yeah, you can go back and listen or watch on YouTube. We got like 6 hours of this.
Yes. 6 hours of fun. So we had to finally remove the sides of the tent because it was trying to blow away on us. So
Yeah,
uh,
Sandman's tent took off a while ago.
yeah, we had to catch it before it blew across the street. So it was bad. So but thanks everybody.
Yep.
Have a good weekend. Have a good night and be safe. And again, we'll see you next week.
All right.
Have a good one.
Have you ever wondered what lurks in the shadows? What secrets the night hides? What strange phenomena might be happening just beyond your perception? Join us as we journey into the world of the paranormal, exploring everything from ghosts and UFOs to cryptids and unexplained occurrences. From haunted houses to all things paranormal, join us in the search for the truth behind the veil. Welcome to Paranormal 411.